Okay, I want to talk quickly about choosing a carrier to work for if you want to be an owner operator. Okay, particularly doing a lease purchase. Okay, so this is about being a lease purchaser slash owner operator. I mean, technically, you don't actually own the truck until you really own the truck, but damn near the same thing. Long story short, lease purchases get a bad rap because of the higher expenses. Okay. Now, the simple part, in simple form, I can tell you, as long as you can mitigate the cost of whatever arrangement that you get yourself into, and you have consistency, you'll be able to make money. You'll be able to build something decent. You know. It's really not all that challenging. One of the main things that you want to do is have your overhead as low as possible. Some things you simply can't change, like or control, which is the cost of fuel. One of the things that you can have a measure of control in is what lanes you run. Okay, so that helps in large part. That helps tremendously if you know what lanes to run to get your dispatchers to actually look for loads for you in particular lanes, because you want to have consistency going back and forth from you out of, because sometimes it may not even be a line haul and then a back haul. Some markets that's good, some lanes that works really good in, and sometimes there's a matter of chasing down the money, you know. But you have to understand the markets that you're going from and that you're going to. Okay, what are the loads look like coming out of it? And once you got that under wraps, because I mean, even right now, rates ain't the greatest and fuel is high. But if you got the right situation where don't have a ridiculous overhead, I give you an example. A lot of these places that are charging $800-900 and more per week for the truck rental, or i.e. the fake lease or whatever, and you're gonna run into a lot of these where it runs up there like that, and they're basically selling you on the idea that, hey, you're not gonna have a lot of problems with this truck because it's new. That's not absolutely true either. You need to do your own research to learn about the stuff yourself. Okay, and you can look on the different forums, like repair forums, for the type of engine that you have in the truck and the truck itself, to find out what are some of the common problems with those trucks that will cause you to have to spend like a substantial amount of money. Because now I've been seeing a lot of lease programs where they're not even charging you escrow, or the escrow is either cheap, or they're not charging you a maintenance fund. You know, and a lot of places will charge between 10-15 cents a mile, and that will eat the shit out of your money, especially when you're not getting that money back. Okay, and a lot of places are having it in the contract where if you're paying into a maintenance fund, you don't get that money back unless you actually purchase the truck in the end. So you have to consider that. There's a few different things there's a few different ways that you can go about it. I mean, if you have a plan to simply rack up some money, then this is what works. Find you a place that ain't charging no more than $300-400 a week for the truck, maybe even $5, but also with no maintenance fund, i.e. that 10-15 cents per mile that you have to pay. And you run shorter distances. You haul in markets that are actually paying good. Somewhere around, I mean, they're different lanes all over the country, but you would have to research that for yourself because sometimes the market changes. Wouldn't do no good for me to simply say, hey, you need to run this lane right now. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no telling when you will run across this video. That may have changed to a degree. But I mean, everybody knows there are like major hubs in the country and stuff like that. Chicago being a major hub, New York, New Jersey area and stuff like that over the east. You know, a lot of times you can get good money going down south. You know what I'm saying? From the Midwest, you can get money generally get good money going down to Texas, but that motherfucker be a desert trying to come up out of there, and that's not consistent all the time, but I mean that is a general fact. Okay, what are you doing, idiot? But things like that, you want to familiarize yourself with the lanes, and i.e. for people who are not extremely familiar with the trucking industry, lanes ain't shit but loads that generally go from Chicago to down south in a particular area, like Chicago to Memphis. You know, there's a shitload of product that goes from Chicago to Memphis. It gets redistributed from Memphis and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Or Chicago to other spots in the Midwest. Chicago to Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? To Chicago to Philly. That's been a strong lane. Chicago to Jersey. It was a lane that I run. There was a lane that I've run before, and it was paying good money going back and forth. You know, well, I mean, it was decent for what it was at the time. You know, I mean, I was getting $3 going out, around $3 going out to Jersey, and maybe a little over two coming back. But it's a 3-day trip. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to do 5,000 in 3 days, I mean, obviously you can do that twice a week, so that could put you up at 10,000. You know what I'm saying? And it's fairly easy route to run. You know? And it's so many particulars because it's like you got tens of thousands or perhaps hundreds of thousands of companies that are shippers and receivers. You know, so yeah, you got to look into it with some measure of detail, and there's a value in doing that. Understanding more about it. If you've been running lanes for a while, then it's gonna be a lot easier for you. You've been in the business for a while, you can put two and two together a lot faster. But for somebody coming in on the entry level, even like now, they got these lease purchase deals where a person don't need more than 4 months of experience. And I've seen some that look like they may actually be feasible. Didn't run those. I myself have been in a fairly good lease purchase deal. I've rented a truck and still was able to make decent money. And I've seen varying degrees of shitty lease purchase deals. You know what I'm saying? Where it's virtually impossible for you to make more than $1,500 to clear more than $1,500 a week on a regular basis. You know, it's like you might hit a couple of strings, you know, a string of good luck, and get over 2,000 a week and shit like that. But it comes with knowing the details, knowing your numbers, what matters. You know what I'm saying, and what don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, if any of these trucking companies or any of these trucking outfits or whatever are trying to give you free shit, be very cautious of that, because just accept the reality that ain't shit free in the transportation industry, and it is a dog-eat-dog world. You know, if you understand that concept, you'll be way better off. Don't try to delude yourself and believe that some fantastic, special, fancy shit is finna happen and motherfuckers is just gonna throw money in your lap. This business don't work like that. So fucking forget about it, okay? It don't happen. What does happen is when you hear these stories or these times where a person that made a shitload of money in a short amount of time, or good loads, it's because that broker and or shipper was desperate. Okay, and they ain't just throwing no money in your lap. They actually need to get some shit done, so they laying it all on the line, and fuck it, they'll pay anything to get that product there because they be fucked up otherwise. But yeah, ain't no freebies in the game like that. Okay, and you know, sometimes you do get lucky with shit like that, but that comes more under the tune of you having your own authority, operating at least as a small fleet, or operating as a small fleet, and you can name your own price. And when people get desperate, they'll pay whatever the fuck they got to get that shit moved. So at least be conscious of the fact that that does happen, and also don't do no silly shit. Make sure you're going to get paid, because just because people are doing business and shit like that don't mean that don't mean that they don't have fucked up shit going on in their companies. And it doesn't mean that these companies won't screw you over when they need to. As I already mentioned, it is a dog-eat-dog world. So be mindful of that. Yeah. But anyway, that shit goes into another realm. That's like the being a small fleet owner. But what I'm talking about is being is essentially being a lease purchase operator. And you can make you some good money doing that shit. Okay, you take care of your basic overhead. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't necessarily be paying more than $200 a week to rent a trailer. You pay for your little insurances, workers' comp and shit like that. It's another couple $100 or so. And if you got a truck that you renting for somewhere in the area of $300 to $500, that'll bring you up to a grand total of about what's fair to say? I mean, shit, if you're listening and you actually care about this shit, do the math. It's like eight to 1,000 or something like that, and then you got your fuel. Okay, if you pick the right loads, okay, you want to be in the area of $1,000 a day. Running loads for $1,000 a day. You put this as a baseline. You want to make $1,000 a day doing the least amount of work possible. Okay, that's a good set to be in. Okay, you gotta consider the value in this. Okay, because you can run 180, 200 miles in a day and make the same money as somebody run 600 miles in a day. For one, especially with fuel being so high, they're gonna spend tremendously more than you in fuel. Okay? Then the time, quality of life, and shit like that, the extra maintenance that generally becomes necessary on the truck when you're running that many more miles, that's higher. Okay, despite the fact if you're doing a lease purchase and you're not paying into a maintenance fund, that truck still costs money to run, and you still need to be setting money aside yourself. Okay, you always have that motherfucker rainy day fund, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Same thing. Expect to spend money. Okay, expect to spend money on maintenance and repairs. So you would always want to be sitting that aside. The only value that I'm telling you, the reason why you don't want another company or the company that you're leased on to holding that money for you is because they're going to be limited when it comes to the favors. Okay? They not holding this shit for you as a favor, and you have the potential to lose out on your money. You know what I'm saying? If you're responsible enough to be a lease purchase operator or owner operator, you know what I'm saying? You're responsible enough to make the money and goddamn it save some yourself to be able to take care of the needs of the equipment that you're using or that you're leasing. So you want that money in your pocket so that you have your own reserve. And another thing, you don't get into the truck assuming that, hey, even if I make $2,000-$3,000, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the average. I know I hear a lot of motherfuckers say, oh, you can make $2,500 to $5,000. You can bring home $2,500 to $5,000 a week. You know what I'm saying? Now, what works between that? What is the regular shit though? What can you count on? Okay, all of that special shit. Yeah, you want to know what the top end, what the top end producers are actually making at any company that you at. You know what I'm saying? You want to know that, and also you want to know the consistency. But when they get into that, people don't like to divulge that much information about their own about their own finances. You know what I'm saying? That can be a very personal question for a lot of people, but you may get some ideas. Some shit you kind of ain't gonna know until you actually in there working it, doing it. You know what I'm saying? You understand what the company protocol. You know what I'm saying? And also you understand the value. One, the value of the dispatchers that are at the company. You know, because some of these motherfuckers, they done just, people that be done got a company, started a company, and they just hiring cheap labor and shit. And these motherfuckers don't be knowing they asshole from a hole in the ground. So you can't trust and depend on no motherfucker like that to give you the best work possible in this field when they don't know shit about it. They just heard some fantastic bullshit story. They heard the same fantastic bullshit story that you've been told. But when you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't, just pay attention to everything that's going on. Talk to some people that's some old schools in the industry and shit like that, and learn what to look for, you know? But it's real simple. If you're doing a lease purchase, you want to try to have your basic overhead outside of fuel being no more than $1,000 a week, $800 to $1,000 a week. And especially in this market now, after you get finished paying for your fuel, which is, I mean, especially if you're in a, I want to say a 12 or newer truck, you should be getting 7 miles to the gallon. You know what I'm saying? And you have to break that down. So when you spend a gallon of fuel, whatever the fuel prices is, you should know if that equates to you spending 43 cents per mile on fuel, or if that equates to you spending, this is where you need to know. This is why your fuel mileage matters, okay? Because if you're only getting 5 gallons per mile and you're paying $5 a gallon for fuel, obviously you spending $1 a mile to move that truck. So that should put some shit in your mind, okay? You don't want no truck that gets shitty gas mileage. Unless you choosing one of these markets, like I mentioned, where you getting $5 a mile to move loads and shit. But that's probably gonna be a little bit harder to do when you operating as a lease purchase operator as opposed to a small fleet owner. You know what I'm saying? For one, just on some real simple shit, you don't have the same bargaining power. Okay? And a lot of times you're not gonna have the same freedom to operate on low boards and be able to contract directly and pick up contract directly with shippers. You know what I'm saying? Those a lot of times opportunities that simply don't exist. So that's why I don't really even mention that shit in the same vein. But just based on the knowledge that I have about it, sometimes shit comes across in conversation. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the things you want to pay attention to when you doing a lease purchase. What is the mileage? What is the fuel mileage that truck gets? You know what I'm saying? Because you got some that get between 7-8 miles per gallon. And how you driving, that also matters. You know what I'm saying? If you sitting up here dogging the shit out of the truck, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna get horrible fuel mileage. You know what I'm saying? And when you take a truck that could get 8 miles to the gallon, and because you dog the shit out of it and waste a lot of idle time, you take your average fuel mileage down to 6 miles per gallon, then if you do the math on that shit, you cost yourself a lot of money. It becomes very simple. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, if you getting 7 something a mile, you know what I'm saying? And like right now, I've been seeing the diesel prices fluctuating. You know what I'm saying? It's like I just in the last 2 days, I just bought fuel for $3.83. You know what I'm saying? And then I just seen the shit for $4.69, $4.79 and shit. In the last couple of days. So finding efficient places to get fuel from, that matters. You know what I'm saying? Because you gotta think about it. Even as simple as shit like that, when you can find a place to get fuel that's $1 a gallon cheaper, my boy, that's saving you money. If you ever do shit like that a couple of times a week, that little shit right there, at least sometimes the motherfucker be thinking about this hustle and bustle and moving around and shit like that. It's real simple. If you have to go 15 minutes out the way to get somewhere, or if you got 30 minutes to spend where it ain't really out the way, it might not just be the most convenient shit, but if you got the time, I mean, you gotta consider. You do that shit a couple of times a week, that could be saving you $200-300 a week. And which those are your responsibilities. That's your shit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's many motherfuckers that's not gonna feel the difference. You know what I'm saying? Because especially, honestly, the range that we talking in, where the average is gonna be somewhere between $2,000-3,000. That shit make a big difference when you go from 2,000 to 2,300. Oh yeah, you don't feel that. Or when you go from 3,000 to 3,300. I mean, shit, that's 10%. That's 10% more right there. I mean, that's $1,200 a month. So I mean, if you average 10 a month, shit, to throw another 12 on there, that ain't bad. And see, that's one of the things in this industry: consistency. If you maintain that type of consistency with paying attention to details, you know what I'm saying? That $1,200 a month, that's another $14,000 a year. Like, what the fuck? Why would you just be throwing that away? Anyway, that shit is silly. So yeah, pay attention to the details. And I mean, once you develop your system and you know all of the right shit to pay attention to, with deadhead miles, you gotta consider deadhead miles matter, because nonetheless you gonna spend fuel going there. So this is another thing that a lot of rookies don't be counting. You know what I'm saying? When you drop off a load, for your own math, you need to understand how much a load is actually paying you. Yeah, you get a little better fuel mileage when you roll it empty, but if you going 100 or 200 miles deadheading, you do that shit a couple of times. For one, it's gonna take away from your driving time per week. You know what I'm saying? Your billable miles. You know what I'm saying? And your billable hours, your time that you can legally drive. So that shit matters. You never discount that. But yeah, when you got a handle on that, I'm not even finna go into the personal conveyance shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been out in the place and I've drove 100 or more miles just to get a good goddamn meal. Cause I knew it was a Mexican restaurant over here that I like. I've been over there before. And I might just say, hey, fuck it. Later on when I do decide to give me another load, it's probably gonna be after I eat. Eating is the first priority. I give me some good ass food. I like it. I'm cool. I got the free time, i.e., personal conveyance. And goddamn it, I go eat my shit, chill the fuck out, and then hey, now I want something else, and now I'm going back to work. So I'm looking in this market. Just so happens to be that it's a better market to find loads in. Catch my drift. Fuck up. Let me talk too much about these things. Okay? Just pay attention. But yeah. You know, in this I ain't gonna lie, shit like that even as a motherfucking lease purchase operator get you around that 5, 6, 7 range, you know. I know it's possible. I've done it. But yeah, I just want to give motherfuckers something to pay attention to a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Learn, think about some shit. I mean, if you want to, you can judge it off, bounce it off some other motherfuckers. Or shit, I mean, you can also ask some goddamn questions. And when I got time to do it, I'll fuck with it. If I see somebody got a sincere question, I'll fuck with that. I get points. I do that. Yeah, but anyway, I'm gonna leave that shit right there for now. You know, because I think I gave some valuable jewels, because that position, motherfucker. As I said, this is a recap, particularly on the money. You know what I'm saying? If you 800 to 1,000, you spend 1,500 on fuel, that's 2,500. You know what I'm saying? You should have no problem with doing motherfucking 6,500. You know what I'm saying? And people you fucking with ain't that good. You might only 5, but then you gotta consider, the percentage that the companies is charging to dispatch you. You motherfucker talking about that 20% and shit like that? Finito. Don't fucking do it. Okay? Motherfuckers are talking about 12% and shit like that. Now, when your overhead is like I just stated, you can get you some bread. You can get you some bread. You know what I'm saying? And this is like, especially for the new people. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers be looking at like this gross number. Like, who the fuck? And why would you care about that? Why would you really care about anything more than what the fuck you take on? You know what I'm saying? Because dude, I done seen motherfuckers in lease purchase deals that like gross 7,500, but the deal's so fucked up, they got shitty loads, ran their ass off, That motherfucker make $1,500, $2,000 at best out of 75. Boy, you cut it the fuck out. You're talking about some gross numbers. Nobody's impressed by that. You're a silly motherfucker. Who thinks this type of shit? That's the type of shit be running through my mind. Like, I don't care. Why? The fuck is wrong with you? All that type of shit, you know? Don't talk no gross numbers to me. Cause you know what I'm saying? As soon as I hear motherfuckers talking about the gross numbers, like, immediately something rings in the back of my mind and says, you don't. You don't pay attention to the right shit. Motherfucker didn't bother to educate themselves about any of this shit. Like, what? Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just saying, let's pay attention to the right shit. I.e., the shit that matters. What you, how the old saying go, ain't what you make, it's what you take, baby. Nobody gives a fuck about gross numbers, okay? I hope that's not even a thing in this day and age. I'm fucking talking about what they got. So the fuck what? Cause real talk, I ain't gonna lie. Like I looked at this shit, you know. I've seen like people that make 80,000 a year, 100,000 a year, and they really feel good about themselves. And they're happy about that. I mean, when they chopping taxes off the front end, every time you get paid, I mean, to me, shit. We got a problem, Houston. Something wrong with that. No. But see, that's what motherfuckers be talking about, especially like regular job type of motherfuckers, you know? Like, yeah, I make $80,000 a year, $100,000. How much of that you bring home? Who gives a fuck? And depending on motherfucking situation and shit, you know what I'm saying? On a fucking W-2 employee, yeah, nigga, please. You don't make no motherfucker 80 or 100. Now, motherfucker, you make 50 something, maybe 60 something. You know what I'm saying? If you know anything about motherfucking taxes, motherfucker might be lucky. Bring back 70 something, you know? And that's motherfuckers making 100, or maybe a little over 100. It's like, what? If you don't sit your goofy ass down, these motherfuckers talking about, and niggas 6 figures ain't shit. I mean, it's like, that's like coming home with 15 a week. Like, the fuck? I mean, I can understand a young motherfucker, you know, but see, when you got that grown, you can't be bragging about it. You bring it home a week. Cut it the fuck out. Yeah. I like those socks. Any fucking. Yeah. But yeah, pay attention to the numbers, man. Pay attention to the numbers. The numbers matter. I don't even, goddamn it, this is why math is important. Pay attention to your goddamn numbers, you know what I'm saying? Do some geometry, do some goddamn algebra, trigonometry if you got to. Calculus, goddamn it. Whatever the fuck you know how to do your math. You know what I'm saying? You know how to do motherfucking long multiplication, long division and shit. You know, hey, you better get on your goddamn math. Pay attention to some shit. Add and subtract. That'd be the crazy shit. That's all it really boils down to. You know what I'm saying? How much is these motherfuckers charging? And what is the potential of what I make? And then, you know what I'm saying? Understanding the ratios and shit. Like, how much you actually spending on fuel per mile that you drive. That's a key factor. Okay, you need to fucking know that, because that should have gouged into your bread like a motherfucker. Saving on fuel is a big thing. I ain't gonna lie, transportation saving wherever you can save in transportation is a big deal. And I mean, there's value in just generally being a meticulous motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But you don't have to be like over anxious about anything. Just know what to count and count the shit. Then it becomes simple. You should always know how much you're making. How much does it cost you? How much does it cost you to move your truck? What are your fixed costs and your variable costs? Perfect example, what you gonna pay for insurances and shit like that? What you gonna pay on a note or the weekly basis, your payment for your truck, those are fixed costs. The trailer rental, that's a fixed cost. But your fuel, that's a variable. I'm gonna reiterate and say this one more time. One of the things that I've found to be a coalesced base to go off of is to make sure that you make over $1,000 per day by doing the least amount of mileage. Slightly different way to look at it, as opposed to, oh, you want the highest amount per mile. The way that I just said it, it makes you consider the next day automatically, because you need to know what the fuck you gonna get out of the place that you went to. Even if you got some high dollar shit per mile going in there, what you getting coming out of there, and where that might determine where you gonna go to. You want to be over $1,000 a day. But the least amount of money that you have to spend, okay, or at least mileage, time, work, okay? You would rather go 200 miles, you would rather spend, even if the time of your day was the same, you would rather go 200 miles and sit for 3, 4, 5 hours than to go 6 600 miles, which is 10, 11 hours, depending on traffic and the speed limits in particular places and the speed of the shipper. You know what I'm saying? You can count on 2 hours any fucking way. It's reasonable to do so. Motherfuckers have spent the same amount of time. But the ones that's mindful of the shit that I just mentioned spend way less money. And way less money in the long run, because they put less on the truck, especially when you got APU in the wintertime or on hot ass days in the summertime. Yeah. I mean, you might only, trucks nowadays is probably only a half gallon an hour, you know what I'm saying? If the truck is running, or you got APU running. Shit. The particulars, you always want to pay attention to. You feel me? Necessary stuff. Pay attention to your numbers. Alright, well shit, I'm gonna leave it like that right now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to load this shit out of YouTube, so. I'll be back. I live it.